Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Clangin and Bangin with Mikey, episode 108, and today we're gonna talk about we're gonna talk about how it feels to leave a toxic environment. And a toxic environment could be friends, family, relationships, jobs, whatever it may be, right? And when I say toxic environment, I don't mean that whole environment is toxic. I just mean that there's might be certain people in this environment that aren't good for your health. Recently I had posted this I had screenshot this video, screen recorded this video. I don't remember what the show was about, but it popped up on my Facebook feed. And the guy talked about there was a guy and a girl, and the girl said, "Yeah, you know what, how come you won't let me be there for you, this and this and that?" And bruh said, what did he say? He said he said the one time I needed you, you wasn't there. And but every time you every time something happens to you, but you expect me to drop everything. And then he's like, oh, he's like, oh, so like, you know, I'm mad enough to have you kiss me to get over your ex or whatever it is, boom, 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 and on all this other stuff, well, and if you need advice, I got you. But on the flip side, if I needed something, you're not there. And then she goes, well, like, you're not letting me be there. And he goes, you're too late. And that right there, and like you can kind of tell it was legitimate because you could see the facial expressions on her face change, because once you start hitting somebody with the truth, they have no choice but to recognize that, right? And I think a lot of friendships are like that too. Cause and I'm pretty sure people who watch this video are gonna be like, yeah, like we've all been through something like this, right? And so that, yeah, and I think that's a very important thing to realize, that is like, just because you got feelings for somebody, or just because you expect, well, that's because you drop everything for them. You don't expect the same thing back from them, man. I'm like, don't expect them to be like, oh yeah, well, I'm gonna do this or do that. And in reality, is like it doesn't, you know, you know, it doesn't do anything, because they're not expected to give back what you give to them. And that's where you gotta draw the line at, because it's like you draw the line at that, and you're like, okay, and I think it's really hurtful for the individual, male or female, to realize that the person that they would drop everything for doesn't drop, doesn't do the same thing for them. And once you fade that out, once you find that out, it's really hard for you to trust that individual, because you know that they're only there, for you to fill a void. And when I say fill a void, is because it's true. A lot of people don't realize this, man. But we're all placeholders. That old saying that goes, "Hey, like, it was never yours; it was only returned." Yeah, it's true. A lot of people will get caught up in situationships, or dramas and whatnot, and not realize that, yo, it was never yours to begin with. It was just your turn. And I think a lot of people, they don't understand that. They don't understand that everything has an expiration date. Steve Harvey once famously said, even loyalty has an expiration date. I know for a fact, me personally, I've been loyal to people who their loyalty ran out on me, 3, 4, 5 years ago, you know. Or I've been trying to keep friendships with people who don't want to keep friendships with me for whatever reason, and I don't know why. I don't need to know why. I just know that it's not gonna work. So at the end of the day, I think it's really important to realize that once you realize that the other person that you're rocking with, or the other person that you thought you was, held you down, doesn't hold you down, or only wants you around because you're available, it's a really hard pill to swallow. But it's something that you should definitely, you know, definitely look into and definitely inquire about because you deserve better than that. When it comes to toxic jobs, toxic, environment jobs, me for one, uh, no amount of money um, can make you stay in a job, you know, strictly just because. Um, and when I say toxic environment, I just don't mean I just don't mean how you treated. Um, I'm talking about like you getting compensated well or whatnot. This one girl that I know, she's a certified personal accountant, and her director had left here to take another job in the mainland, same job but double the pay, and and instead of the company that she works for hiring a new director so they can train the director to do director type stuff, they're having a supervisor take the role of a director but not paying her as a director. Now the difference between a supervisor and a director, depending on what you're doing, it's money involved, right? And plus it's like, if that's not your job title, then why would you do it? So that in turn is toxic because they're doing more or less, and that never works out that way. I don't care who you are. It doesn't work out that way. Um, and I think with that being said, man, you see, we went over friendships, relationships. Oh no, we didn't go over relationships. We went over work relationships. Um, Leaving toxic relationships, man. This may be hard to do, because it's like the two people involved, or maybe one person involved doesn't want to accept the fact that it's over, but it's over, and you just got to keep it moving. And I think once you figure out that what you had is, it's no longer working, or it's no longer conducive, because me myself, when I'm in relationships, man, it's like I am so low key and just like so just like whatever, right? I don't I don't get too much out of pocket. I don't get too angry, too mad, because there's really no point. Like what am I gonna get mad about? You know, when I was younger, and I didn't know how to properly express my emotions, I would lash out and everything too. But now I was like, whenever I'm with somebody and we have a heated argument, be like, yo, instead of us staying mad at each other or staying in this situation, why don't we just table this and we can come back to this when cooler has prevailed? And majority of the time that does work. Um, very rarely does it does it not work, you know. And I think when you're dealing with situations like this, with other people's emotions too, you got to realize that what you say and how is more. It's not what you say that's important; it's how you say it. A lot of people will say things, in the heat of the moment when they're angry, and you end up saying stuff that you 100% mean, but not the way that it came out. And I think that's very important to realize that too. Like if you're constantly having the same argument with this individual, or if you're constantly having the same conversations and nothing's improving, chances are you most likely should just leave it alone. It's not worth you pursuing it, or it's not worth you trying to get better at the situation, because it's never gonna get better. And that in turn is not really toxic. It's more along the lines of just stunted growth. Because believe it or not, a lot of people will date the same individuals in different forms and then wonder why they still get the same thing. And I think that's extremely um, I think it's extremely important to realize what you're doing and who you're doing it with, and everything as well. Because who you date, you know, has a big impact on how you see things. Who you have kids with, how those kids are raised, and everything else in general. It's a whole lot of stuff that happens, and if you're not ready for that, that could be detrimental, and that could be, very um, problematic because I was reading somewhere too, and this lady had said, "Oh yeah, well, the more people, the more people that that women and men sleep with, the less connections that you're doing because she's like the whole point of you know intimacy is to connect with somebody on a deeper level, and it's like if you're just having one night stands and that's it, then the chances of you developing a connection with somebody is not really gonna happen because you're just so used to, you're always gonna compare them to the other 5, 10, 15, 20 other people that you slept with beforehand, right? So I think that's extremely important too, to realize that it's like everything that you do um has a way of coming full circle. It doesn't just necessarily just stop, you know. Anyway, guys, this is about 12 minutes of your life that you won't get back. Hope y'all keeping the 4 P's: private player, positive pushing. I see y'all next week. I love y'all, ghosts. And like I always say, know your worth.